I was pressed against a washing machine in a country club laundry room at 2 in the morning, my bridesmaid dress hiked up, his wedding shirt on the floor beside us. His bride was 20 meters away, dancing with her father, and I didn't stop him. My name is Claire. I'm 29 years old. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm about to tell you something I've never told anyone. Not my therapist, not my sister, not even myself, really, until now. This is the story of how I slept with my best friend's groom on her wedding night. I'm a freelance photographer, bohemian style, sun-bleached blonde hair, always tanned from shooting outdoors. I live alone in a small apartment in East Nashville, the kind with exposed brick and plants everywhere. Back then, I was single, had been for about 8 months after a breakup that left me feeling like I was drifting. Work was good, life was fine, but something was missing, that edge, that feeling of being truly alive. Caitlin had been my best friend since we were 14. 15 years of sleepovers, road trips, shared secrets, ugly crying sessions. We knew everything about each other, or I thought we did. When she met Brandon at a marketing conference in Memphis 2 years before the wedding, she called me that same night, breathless. Claire, I met someone. Really met someone. I was happy for her. Brandon seemed nice enough when I first met him. Tall, dark hair, worked in finance, had that clean-cut corporate look, wore expensive watches, drove a nice car, said all the right things. I met him officially at a dinner Caitlin organized about 3 weeks after they started dating. Some upscale restaurant in downtown Nashville. White tablecloths, dim lighting, jazz playing softly in the background. He stood up when I arrived, shook my hand, smiled. So you're the famous Claire. Caitlin talks about you constantly. His grip was firm. His cologne was subtle, something woody and expensive. I remember thinking he was handsome in that conventional way. Nothing special. Nothing that made my pulse race. Just another guy. But here's the thing no one knows. Over the next year and a half, as Caitlin and Brandon got more serious, I started noticing small things. The way he'd look at other women when Caitlin wasn't watching. How he'd lean in a little too close when we talked at parties. Once at Caitlin's birthday dinner, his hand brushed my lower back as he passed behind my chair. Could have been an accident. Probably was. But something about it felt deliberate. I brushed it off. Told myself I was imagining things. When they got engaged, Caitlin asked me to be her maid of honor. We cried together in her apartment, drinking champagne, looking at wedding magazines. She was so happy, radiant, and I was genuinely thrilled for her. Whatever weird vibes I'd picked up from Brandon, I convinced myself they were nothing. Just my cynical, single girl brain looking for problems where there weren't any. The wedding planning took 8 months. I was there for all of it. Dress fittings, venue tours, cake tastings. Caitlin chose this gorgeous country club just outside Nashville. Sprawling grounds, white columns, gardens with rose bushes and string lights. Very southern elegant, very expensive. Her parents went all out. The wedding was set for a Saturday in late September, when the weather in Tennessee is perfect. Still warm, but not brutal. Golden light everywhere. The week before the wedding, there was a moment. The rehearsal dinner was at this steakhouse in Nashville. Everyone was drinking, laughing, toasting. Brandon gave a speech about how lucky he was. Caitlin cried. After dinner, people split off into smaller groups. I ended up outside on the patio with Brandon and a couple of his groomsmen. They were smoking cigars. I hate cigars, but I stayed anyway, drinking whiskey, laughing at their dumb jokes. At one point, Brandon turned to me while the other guys were distracted. He said, "You ever wonder if you're making a huge mistake, but it's too late to back out?" I looked at him, tried to read his face. He was smiling, but his eyes weren't. I said, "Quote 3? He shrugged. "Quote 4. Then Caitlin came outside, took his hand and pulled him back inside. The moment passed. I told myself he was just nervous. Cold feet, normal groom stuff. The wedding day was perfect. Blue sky, light breeze. Caitlin looked stunning in her dress. Strapless lace, fitted, Classic. I wore a dusty rose bridesmaid dress, simple and elegant. My hair was up. I'd done my makeup carefully. The ceremony was beautiful. Brandon cried when Caitlin walked down the aisle. I stood there thinking maybe I'd been wrong about everything. Maybe this was real. Maybe they'd be happy. The reception started at 6. The ballroom was incredible. Crystal chandeliers, white flowers everywhere, a live band, open bar. I started drinking early. Champagne during cocktail hour, then wine with dinner. Then I switched to whiskey because the night felt long and I needed something stronger. By midnight, I was tipsy. By 1 a.m, I was drunk, not sloppy, just loose, uninhibited. That dangerous kind of drunk where bad decisions start feeling like good ideas. I danced with everyone, Caitlin's dad, Brandon's college friends, random cousins. Around 2 a.m, I needed a break. The music was too loud. My feet hurt. I wanted to find a quiet bathroom, splash water on my face, maybe sit down for a minute. The country club was huge. I wandered down a hallway away from the ballroom. Wrong turn. Then another. The music faded. I passed a kitchen, some offices, a storage room. Then I saw a door marked laundry. For some reason, I opened it. Brandon was inside, sitting on top of a dryer. Tie loosened, shirt unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up. He had a glass of whiskey in his hand. He looked up when I walked in, smiled. Hiding? I said. He laughed. From my own wedding. That's terrible, right? I leaned against the doorframe. The room smelled like detergent and fabric softener. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. There were 3 industrial washing machines, 2 dryers, shelves of linens. The most unromantic place in the world. I said, "Why are you hiding?" He took a sip of his drink. Honestly, I don't know. Needed a minute. Everyone wants a piece of you at these things. Smile here, dance there, thank these people. It's exhausting. I walked further into the room. Let the door close behind me. You're the groom. You're supposed to love this. He looked at me, really looked at me. You ever do something because everyone expects you to, not because you actually want to. I sat down on the dryer next to him. Our legs almost touched. What are you saying? He stared at his glass. I'm saying I'm not sure I'm ready for this. Marriage, forever. All of it. I felt my heart start to pound. Brandon, you just married Caitlin, like 3 hours ago. He turned to face me. I know, trust me, I know, but sitting here, away from everyone, I just keep thinking, what if I'm not the guy she thinks I am? There was this silence, heavy, loaded. I should have left, should have told him to go back to his bride, should have reminded him that Caitlin was my best friend. Instead, I said, then why did you go through with it? He smiled, but it was sad. Good question. Another silence. He set his glass down on the dryer. I could hear the faint bass of the music through the walls. People were still dancing, still celebrating. And we were here, hidden, alone. He said, "You look beautiful tonight." I laughed. I'm a sweaty mess. He shook his head. No, you look exactly like yourself. That's what I mean. I didn't know what to say to that. His hand moved to my knee, just rested there, light, testing. I didn't move it away. He said, "Claire," and then his hand slid up to my thigh. I looked at him. His eyes were dark, intense. I knew exactly what was about to happen. I could have stopped it, could have stood up, walked away, gone back to the reception. But I didn't. I leaned in, or he did. I'm still not sure who moved first, but then his mouth was on mine. His hands in my hair, my hands on his chest, feeling his heart hammering under his shirt. He tasted like whiskey. His lips were soft. The kiss was urgent, desperate, like we'd both been holding back for too long and the dam finally broke. He pulled back for a second, whispered, "Quote 22. I whispered back, "Quote 23. Then we kissed again, harder this time. His hands moved down my back, found the zipper of my dress. I didn't stop him. My hands went to his shirt, pulled it out of his pants. His skin was warm. He lifted me slightly, positioned me in front of him. The dryer was cold against my legs. The fluorescent light was harsh. There was nothing romantic about this. It was raw, reckless, forbidden, and that made it electric. I remember thinking, somewhere in the back of my mind, that Caitlin was 20 meters away, dancing with her family, celebrating the happiest day of her life, and I was here, kissing her husband in a laundry room at her wedding. The thought should have stopped me, should have filled me with guilt, but in that moment, all I felt was adrenaline, pure, intoxicating adrenaline. His wedding shirt ended up on the floor. My bridesmaid dress was pushed up. The washing machines hummed quietly beside us. We didn't speak, didn't need to. It lasted maybe 10 minutes. But those 10 minutes destroyed everything. When it was over, we just stood there, breathing hard, not looking at each other. Reality crashed back in like a wave. He picked up his shirt, started buttoning it with shaking hands. I smoothed down my dress, fixed my hair. He said, "Claire," I said, "Don't." He nodded. We still didn't look at each other. He finished dressing, checked his reflection in the small mirror on the wall, looked perfect again, like nothing had happened. He left first, didn't say goodbye, just opened the door and walked out. I waited 5 minutes, then I left too. Walked back through the hallways, found the bathroom, stared at myself in the mirror. My lipstick was smudged, my hair was messy. I looked like exactly what I was. Someone who'd just betrayed her best friend in the worst possible way. I cleaned myself up, reapplied my makeup, took a deep breath. Then I went back to the reception. Caitlin was on the dance floor, laughing, twirling, so happy. She saw me and waved. I waved back, smiled. Brandon was talking to his groomsmen. He didn't look at me. I grabbed another drink, stayed for another hour, left around 3 in the morning, drove home in silence, sat in my apartment, didn't sleep, just stared at the ceiling, thinking about what I'd done, knowing I could never take it back. Brandon called me the next morning. I almost didn't answer, but I did. He said, quote, 26, I said, quote, 27. He said, quote, 28. I laughed. It sounded bitter. Quote, 29. He said, quote, 30. I said, quote, 31. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, quote, 32. I said, quote, 33. We hung up. I thought that would be the end of it. We'd pretend it never happened. Move on. But 1 week later, Caitlin called me. She was crying, sobbing. I answered, heart pounding, terrified she knew. But she didn't. She said, I felt my stomach drop. She said, I listened to her cry for an hour. She told me everything. The messages, his denials, her doubts. She asked me what she should do. I could have told her the truth right then. Could have confessed. Could have said, quote, 37. But I didn't. I stayed quiet. I listened. I said all the supportive friend things. You deserve better. Trust your gut. You'll figure this out. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Caitlin kept calling, kept venting. Brandon kept denying. I stayed silent. Then, 2 months after the wedding, Caitlin filed for divorce. Turns out I wasn't the only one. There'd been other women throughout their engagement, even before. Brandon wasn't cold feet. He was just a cheater. And I'd been one more name on a long list. Caitlin called me when the divorce was finalized. She said, I need to know something. Did you know? About Brandon? About any of it? I could have told her then. Could have come clean. Could have said, yes, I knew, because I was part of it. But instead I said, no, I had no idea. I'm so sorry, Caitlin. She said, some of our friends are taking his side, saying I'm overreacting. I need to know you're on my side. I said, of course I am. She said, promise me, Claire. Promise me you'll always be honest with me. I said, I promise. That was the last real conversation we had. After that, things got weird. She stopped calling as much, stopped inviting me to things. When I'd reach out, she'd be polite but distant. I asked her once if everything was okay. She said, "I just need space." From everyone connected to Brandon. "You understand, right?" I said yes, but I knew what was really happening. She didn't know the truth, but somewhere, deep down, she suspected something. Not about me specifically, just that people around her had known more than they were saying. And she was right. We haven't spoken in over a year now. I see her sometimes on social media. She moved to Atlanta, started over, looks happy. I'm still here in Nashville, still taking photos, still single, still carrying this secret that gets heavier every day. Sometimes I think about reaching out, about finally telling her the truth. But what would that accomplish? It wouldn't undo what I did. It wouldn't heal anything. It would just hurt her more. So I stay silent. And I live with it. Here's what I learned. You can tell yourself it's just one night, just one mistake, just one moment of weakness. But it's never just that. Every choice has consequences. Every betrayal leaves scars. Not just on the people you hurt, on yourself too. I lost my best friend. Not because she found out, but because I couldn't look her in the eye anymore. Because the guilt was too heavy. Because even though she doesn't know, I know. And that's enough. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm not looking for forgiveness. I'm just telling you what happened. The real story. No filter, no excuses. I slept with my best friend's husband on her wedding night, in a laundry room, while she danced 20 meters away. And I've been living with that ever since. Some mistakes you don't get to take back, some friendships you don't get to repair, and some secrets you carry alone, forever.